Those of you, our viewership actually kind of just jumped up a bit, so we've probably got some new people out there. This is the StarCraft 2 Community Team League. Best of 9 is the format. It's a King of the Hill also, so the player comes in, play till they lose, and then a new player replaces them. Shinchan was the player that Overdose Gaming put out. He was not able to bring the win home. Bonkers, this is his second game, second win for StarCraft 2 Strategy, bringing them back after they tied up 2-2. So now it's 4-2. Again, sorry we're not using the scoreboard. We had a hotkey issue to where every time I would adjust the score, we would get a different scene, which is not a good idea.
So as we move into our next match, as soon as I get out of the previous one, this could be game point for StarCraft Strategy. At this point, Overdose Gaming needs to win 3 in a row in order to pull out this match, which puts all the pressure on their last player.
Last player is going to be Mercy. As I'm getting this replay loaded up. So Bonkers is coming out and steamrolling some players here. He came out, and this series has gone back and forth. Overdose Gaming came out with a win, then StarCraft 2 Strategy came back and got ahead, and then Overdose Gaming came back again, and now StarCraft 2 Strategy seems to be really stretching out their lead. Bonkers really bringing it home for them.
Definitely getting a leg up on their opponents, but I would not count Overdose Gaming out just yet. A lot of times when you're backed into a corner, that's when things get crazy.
Indeed.
Especially if you're a Wolverine. Like me.
Speaking of getting crazy,
Game resumed.
jumping in our game, in the right side of the map, we've got our Overdosed Gaming player. He's coming out for the first time to see if he can bring it home for Overdose Gaming and stave off the loss. It is Mercy!
And in the bottom left-hand corner, in the pink trunks again, we are a 17-year-old hero for StarCraft Strategy from Florida, USA. It is Bonkers.
This is Bonkers. So we got another PvP. Mirror matchup. Mirror matchups are always interesting. It's one of my favorites. Pylons going down at the same time, looks like, and probes. He's my friend. Again in chat, let us know how you like this cast so far. Give us some feedback. Follow us on Twitter by all means. At the bottom of the screen you see our Twitters, WingNutSC and Gallegation. You can also find me on Facebook at WingNutSC. Also follow SC2CTL on Twitter. If you follow us and SC2CCL, you will get all the updates of all the casting. 3 casting teams in SC2CTL. We are one of them. We will be casting Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Mondays and Wednesdays, the programming will be from 4:30 to 6:30 Mountain Time, which is 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern Time if you're paying attention. Friday, there will also be some casting as well. I can't remember the times offhand, but if you check the site and follow everyone on Twitter, you will be updated, that is for sure.
Follow all the people.
All the follows.
Bonkers is determined again to get rid of those shields on that pylon, but Mercy's way ahead of the game, puts down a second one just in case.
Following in his friend Phil's footsteps. Looks like it's going to be Cybercore for Mercy. Cybercore for Bonkers coming down. Bonkers has been behind on the Cybercore in almost every game from his opponent. I'm not sure if that's built into his build or how he's doing that, but he's definitely has a build that brings the Cybercore up a little bit later. But he does get those gas down a lot earlier. He's mining 2 out of each, while his opponent just had his second gas come up, mining 3 out of each. So I'm guessing that this is going to be maybe another Blink play. That's one major one that I can think of that requires 2 in each gas. Usually if you're doing a Stargate, you want 3 in each. Look at that pylon. Even took some hull damage.
Yeah, it sure did.
That Zealot saying, get out of dodge.
Mercy's
Warp gate
probe
coming
is
down.
going in to do some scouting, sees what he wants to see, sees that warp gate.
Mothership core coming down also.
Just a quick reminder, please stay tuned after the end of all the games for tonight, as we still have one more secret word to give away in winning, or to get you a chance to win the crayon drawing of the StarCraft 2 Community Team League logo.
Mr. Llamas is in chat saying, "Go bonkers!" Mr. Llamas is the team captain of StarCraft 2 Strategy, who will be joining us after the match for some commentary, as Nick just said.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Well, we both got it covered.
There we
Mothership
go.
cores coming to high five each other. That's always a fun thing. High five. See you later, son. Both coming to do some probe poking and scouting, no doubt. This map is definitely interesting for that air or mothership core, as it's easy to get around. Looks like Bonkers mothership core pulling back. Same with Mercy's. They didn't get enough on the high five the first time. Gonna check it out again.
Looks like Bonkers misclicked and had to cancel one of his buildings, but puts down a Twilight Council instead.
Stargate coming down from Mercy.
Hallucinated Oracle.
Interesting. Both mother. Okay.
Gonna see if Bonkers is wearing Depends.
Bonkers does come in to check out Mercy's base with his mothership core. In comes that hallucinated Oracle. And Bonkers did see the Stargate, so he definitely would think that this could be a real Oracle, although...
And all those probes get pulled, which is
does.
probably exactly what Mercy wanted to have
He
happen.
does take the bait, and now it takes some APM to get the right number of workers back in the gas, so any little bit of an advantage is an advantage. Both players putting down Expos at almost the same time. Bonkers going for his blink play, same thing as he did last time. It's kind of what I expected. Twilight Council going down as well as the Stargate for Mercy, so possibly looking at some air plus DTs or Templar. Hallucinated Phoenix now coming out for Bonkers. He's going to see what's going on over in Mercy's base. Mercy heading out towards the top of the map. I'm not sure what he's going to do. Bonkers has a probe at the third of Mercy to pop down a pylon at some point, no doubt. A real Oracle is now out for Mercy as well. Mercy is no doubt going to see that no damage is being taken from that Phoenix and know it's a hallucination. Doing some remote mining is Bonkers from his not yet completed Nexus. Probe of Mercy is still just kind of walking around, taking the
Just trying
long way to the fourth base.
Making
of
sure that
Bonkers.
there's no shenanigans going down. Probably going to putting down a pylon right there, getting ready for some warp-ins.
Waiting for Bonkers to put down a pylon. Looks like DT Dark Shrine is coming down from Mercy and Blink, so he's definitely utilizing that Twilight tech to the fullest. Chrono boosting out the probes from his natural. No gas there yet for either player. Bonkers putting down a forge to get some upgrades and robo, so those DTs are likely not going to be a huge issue, assuming he gets a observer out of here fairly quickly. Still waiting on that observer.
Oracle hasn't really done a whole lot. It's just been kind of sitting around.
DT gets warped in by Mercy. Let's see what kind of damage this will do. Observer does start for Bonkers, so it's only going to be a handful of seconds here until this Dark Templar is revealed. But it is going to
Bonkers
affect
does
the mining.
see. Bonkers does see that pylon and is going to take it out.
Good attempts
Great
to force
force
field
fields.
that DC. Those were not great force fields.
Sorry. You're right,
He
they're
was
not. Now that I get a look at it.
He was attempting to trap that DT in there until the observer came out, and alas, he was not able to. It was a great attempt at force fields. Immortals now coming up for Bonkers. Blink getting close to finishing it for Mercy, as well as Immortals of his own. I'm actually not sure where that Oracle went. Is it? Where's that Oracle? Is it
I
still
think
out?
it's still sitting outside. Oh, no, wait, no.
There it
went-
is. Moving out of Mercy's base right now. That Oracle's going to go back and see what it can do.
Ah, yeah.
The main of Bonkers definitely looks open to it, especially if Bonkers is looking away. Oh, Observer is moving around. Depends on if he can get some vision on this before it gets in too far. I'm assuming.
It doesn't look like it's going to do that much, though, and there's nothing really back there to defend against this, so he's going to get some probe kills if he decides to.
If he
do
uses
anything.
it.
There it goes. Luckily for him, Bonkers is slow to react as well.
I thought maybe the Bonkers would see it because he was microwing around that observer a bit, which kind of led me to believe that he was looking at it. But that photon overcharge is actually going to take out that Oracle. Is it? One more. Shit!
Oh.
It does. But he does use Revelation on the base, so he will be seeing what's going on in there for a full 60 game seconds. Which I think is about 40 some odd real seconds. Stalker takes out that probe that was chilling around up here at the 8th base for Bonkers, just in case he decided to expand there.
Bonkers does have a proxy pylon of his own, getting ready to warp in if he so desires, but it looks like Mercy's going to move out with some Stalkers and Archon and Immortal and Zealots and all sorts of fun stuff. Finds it, takes out the probe and then the pylon.
That would have been useful for Bonkers as Mercy moves out if he could have sensed it, because then he could have had some warp-ins of his own going back. Mercy, though, building some cannons around just to defend against any shenaniganry. I haven't seen any warp prisms. I'm surprised. Since those warp prisms did get a buff and a patch as far as the speed goes, it's a nice harassery mechanism.
Mercy's moving forward. Bonkers is collecting his Stalker that was on the tower. The Observer is kind of wandering around trying to figure out where that army's going.
As this battle happens in chat, let us know who you think's going to win, Mercy or Bonkers.
Mercy has hallucinated a Colossus, and so has Bonkers.
Those hallucinated Colossus will definitely be a factor against each other, but you notice the hallucinated Colossus does not knock down the force field. Those
Now
Immortals
the
get
hallucinated
trapped.
Colossus are attacking each other.
Photon overcharge doing some damage against those Stalkers. The hallucinated Colossus of Mercy is still hanging in there.
Mercy's just doing a lot of damage right now.
Now Bonkers catching up, getting some damage done. Got the Void Ray coming in that's going to be able to take out those Immortals and forces Mercy to push back.
Mm-hmm. Wants to protect that hallucinated Colossus, but runs out of time.
Tyrannus says Mercy will win that battle. Bonkers can't win. Turns out, joke's on you, nobody won. Let's look at units lost and see that actually Mercy has lost way more than Bonkers at 4,700 to 3,000. Although Bonkers is losing a bit more now, bringing that differential to around 1,000.
Mercy keeps the army out with a couple of force fields, but he is going to pay for it in a gateway.
Void Rays using prismatic alignment to take out some of those Immortals with no shields. They go down real fast. Mercy's making a nice push into those Zealots, doing a lot of damage to the Stalkers, while the Immortal is
Bonkers is
targeting the other
in
Immortal.
Mercy's base with 3 Zealots doing huge amounts of damage.
Hey, look, there's that Warp Prism I was
There's
talking
that Warp
about.
Prism. There's that Warp Prism that you wanted to see.
It does look like there were not many probes lost, so Mercy was just able to pull those out. Although it is hard for him to deal with. The battle continues at Bonkers' base, although it still looks pretty even, though Bonkers looks like he may have gained the advantage with that last warp in. Mercy's going to have to do something here, warping in a DT to deal with the Zealots back there.
Bonkers just collects them up in the Warp Prism and moves on to greener pastures.
Looks like +1 upgrades going down for Mr. Mercy. Cannon's gonna end up going down. Looks like the Warp Prism was taking some shots there. Oh, those Zealots doing huge damage to those probes as he mineral walks them right through the Zealots. Not the best plan. Mercy now pulling back his units as he's feeling the pressure at home. That Warp Prism doing a lot of damage. Looking back at the units lost, the differential is still about the same. Grown a little bit for Bonkers at about 2,400. More minerals lost for Mercy. Minerals, units, and resources.
Not sure if you see that Wingnut, but one of our overlays is covering the units lost tab.
Well, alright, we'll have to fix that. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Mercy got upgrade advantage, says one of the observers. Them observers. Now Bonkers is going to bring the hurt to Mercy. Mercy's sending out his observer to see what's coming. He's going to see the group of Stalkers, Void Ray Zealots, Immortals, and Warp Prism. So, with this battle coming up in chat, who's going to win, Mercy or Bonkers? Bonkers is getting ready to warp in. That Defender's advantage is gone with a Warp Prism out there.
Cannons are going down, trying to help protect against this. We got mostly Zealots, a couple Stalkers, a couple Archons.
Mercy does have a pylon at the 4th base of Bonkers to do some warp-ins of his own if he was to so choose, but looks like he's warping in everything at his
Mercy
natural.
has a DT in Bonkers base, and Bonkers doing some neat stuff, trying to keep that DT in the range of those cannons that he just warped in, but he
Got
was
a
able to
big
get out.
blink into Mercy's base by Bonkers. Although Mercy's bringing his entire army back to try and snap those Stalkers, does blink them out with only losing a couple. DT still doing damage in Bonkers base. Void Ray comes back to clean it up. Both players had a bit of a stalemate here. Mercy did a big push on Bonkers that sort of didn't work out so well. Bonkers now doing a push on Mercy that isn't really going anywhere yet. We'll see if something happens. A lot of cannons at Mercy's natural, so that's going to be make it really difficult for him to push in there, especially with those Archons and Zealots.
We're seeing High Templar getting warped in now. Doesn't look like Storm is done researching just yet, but it will be finished in about 5 seconds.
Both players still on 2 bases, which is 1 base more than the standard PvP, so we're going somewhere. Mercy's main is beginning to get mined out, though. He's only got 4 mineral patches left as the probes are starting to stack up. Blink comes in from Bonkers into Mercy's base. What's he going to try and snipe? Looks like probes.
From the gas.
Mercy brings his forces back to again try and deal with this. As Blink cooldown goes away, he's going to get out again with only losing a couple Stalkers again. Mercy trying to target down that Warp Prism as that's what he's using for vision to blink in. Mercy has a Warp Prism of his own also that he's going to send out. Bonkers now trying to expand to his 4th base location or 3rd, depending on how you look at it. I'd like to choose this as the 4th, but that DT there is going to be an issue. Now it looks like Bonkers is deciding that that was about all he can do and going to pull back. Does have a Zealot at the 4th area of Mercy.
And he's moving in to take out that pylon and potentially take out that DT as well, but in comes the Warp Prism into the base of Bonkers, and it is warping in Zealots. Gonna do some economic damage here.
Zealot's taking out a good number of probes, trapping that group that was on that mineral patch. Got a couple extra kills there. Mothership Core and Archon comes in to try and clean it up.
Photon overcharge goes down.
Oh, the Warp
And,
Prism not able to escape. The pylon of Mercy was taken out at the expansion up here. I'm not sure what we'll call it. We'll call it 3rd or 4th, depending on which way he ends up taking it. Mercy is taking his 3rd out front, so some expanding, macroing is going on. Bonkers looks like he's queued up a expansion at his 3rd
Mercy's
base
moving into Dark
location.
Templar to try and deny it, though. But there are Stalkers and an Observer there getting ready to take that out, and sure enough, down goes the Dark Templar.
Mercy positioning his army nicely in front of his 3rd base just in case any pushes come, but both players are holed up in their own bases. Got some observer movement from Bonkers trying to make sure he knows what's going on. In the production tab, we've got High Templar, Void Rays, and upgrades coming down for Bonkers. Zealot
Trying to even out
Charge.
that upgrade advantage.
Zealot Charge just starting from Mercy in an expansion. That's just finishing. New War Prism coming down. Oh, this has got High Templar in it. I bet he's going to try himself a Storm Drop. Love me some Storm Drops. Observer of Mercy coming across the map to see what Bonkers is up to. See
If he's going for that main, though, he's going to be disappointed as there's not a lot of probes left in there.
He decides to move down. Yeah, that would have been a poor play to go into a main at the 24 minute
But it looks like
point.
he's going to go to the high ground and
this is
Storm
position.
in the back.
Oh,
Ooh.
excellent Storm. So many probes dead. Losing now 27 probes for Mercy. That's actually evening up the probe killed count.
Mercy wanders his army around like a stirred beehive.
Let me at him. Mercy now bringing in his observer to see what Bonkers is up to. He sees sees a couple units on the ramp here, assuming probably that the rest are nearby. As Mercy moves up the middle to the
Again, like a swarmed bee or stirred beehive, just moving it for the closest target, trying to kill anything. Doesn't care at this point.
Oh, here comes a group of
It's-
stalkers moving across
Oh,
the map.
great blink out of that second storm.
Nice
But-
time warp comes down. That's going to kill a couple stalkers before his blink cooldown ends up running out again. Not sure what these stalkers are planning on doing.
They were able to be successful in moving the army of Mercy back, which bought some seconds.
Did buy some seconds. Many seconds were bought. Looks like Mercy's going to just let those stalkers go around their merry ways. He doesn't want to be delayed any longer. Few cannons.
And he's got plenty of cannons to take care of anything that they might try and do. But we
Archon's
do see
being-
another Warp Prism going over with 2 more High Templar. It looks like there's going to be another Storm drop that goes down.
Looks like Bonkers is a bit distracted by the attack going on at his expansion, not doing anything
Huge
with that
storms
warp
on those
prism
Void Rays. On both armies, for that matter.
yet. Bonkers deciding to pull back and just let that fall.
Not able to get those probes out. They are all going to die. But now Archons and Void Rays come back in. Storms going down.
Oh, those storms on those Void Rays. Storms are so good against Void Rays just because they clump up so much. Looks like
Blinking forward.
Mercy's going to push him back a little bit. Be satisfied with taking out that base, taking a base lead of his own, and moving back out. Mercy putting up a couple pylons here to warp in. More Archons coming his way. He's setting up a real big, heavy defensive position. This Warp Prism is now just starting to move again with those Templar, and it looks like he's going to do another Storm drop here. Hold your pants. Oh, do it. Do it. Do it.
But in the meantime, at the front of Bonkers base, there's huge push going on by Mercy. Mercy's moving forward, taking down gateways. Huge storm on those Void Rays. Second storm goes down. So many Void Rays taking damage. Stalkers blinking back, trying to get it. But it looks like Bonkers is going to be able to hold this despite great storms, despite a lot of damage output. He just did not have the positioning. It looks like some reinforcements from Mercy coming forward, but it's not going to be enough with all those Stalkers and Immortal coming up.
Those storms took down the shields and HP of those Void Rays quite a bit. Weren't able to take them out. The Storm drop does finally go into effect, killing a bunch more probes of Mercy's.
Zealots get warped in to try and do some more damage.
With the probes that Mercy was able to kill of Bonkers, that Storm drop did even up the probe count once again, so this game is still fairly even. Food count very low for both players, under 100. Oh, another drop on those probes that were all bunched up in the back. That Warp Prism proving to be an issue.
Mercy saw it just at the last second, was able to get most of those probes out without taking too much damage.
A handful of Zealots wreaking some havoc in Mercy's main base. Took out a gateway, now working on a cybernetics core.
And that's going to hurt Mercy a lot, as he won't be able to make any more Stalkers if that goes down.
It's getting close, and he's going to lose that. Although at this point in the game, you don't really want to be using Stalkers much as you're going to be focusing on the Templar and the Zealots. Stalkers are not a great unit to make this late in the game. Looking at upgrades, Bonkers has 2 attack, 1 armor upgrade, and Mercy has 3 attack, 0 armor. So
Mercy has a Dark Templar chasing down that Stalker army, and Bonkers is rallying his Observer, trying to get it back to the front and get back synced up with his army so he doesn't take any more damage from that. Mercy, deciding that he's kind of worn out his welcome, is moving away from the army.
Warp Prism moving down back away. Bonkers now deciding to expand to his front 3rd base, warping in some High Templars of his own, making Archons. The food count still staying relatively low. Bonkers starting to get ahead at 90 food to 57. If we look at the units lost tab, I know you can't see the bottom, but the units lost for Mercy is 20,000 and 17,000 for Bonkers, which is relatively close at this point.
Bonkers taking it forth towards the center of the map. That DT's moving into the actual usual 4th location, but not seeing anything.
He fooled him. Looks like Bonkers is definitely starting to get a real heavy lead on this game. The pushes of Mercy just haven't been all that successful for him. He's been doing a lot of moving around and moving out, but he hasn't been able to get in and do a lot of actual damage to Bonkers.
DT moves in and tries to do some probe damage, but mostly just succeeds in letting Bonkers know that he had way too many probes on that base.
DT wanders into the main, sees a fully mined out main, starts whacking at a Stargate. Mercy now starting to move out again, it looks like, through the middle. Lots of High Templar, Stalker, a couple Zealots and an Archon. Bonkers moves back to deal with this DT that's poking away at his base. Long macro game with these guys, even though it's not a lot of macro, it seems like, as we're still only on 3 operating bases for each player, but really aggressive game from both, alternating back and forth as Mercy moves in to try and deal with Bonker's third base.
Mercy puts down a very aggressive pylon. Time Warp goes down goes the storms all over the units, but they're pretty spread out, so it's taking a lot of energy to get the unit spread, and a storm of Bonker's own goes down, takes out most of the High Templars, and Mercy is forced to retreat.
Man, the big thing I'm seeing with Mercy and his storms is the storms are doing damage, but he just doesn't have the units to clean it up. All of those units lost almost all their shields and took a decent amount of hull damage, but by the time he got down to the point where they were getting close to being dead, there just wasn't anything left to just finish them off. Mercy has a ton of probes out here that are not mining. Looks like he was being harassed again by that warp prism. Bonker's now beginning to remote mine from his third, setting up his fourth. I guess we have to call this the third now. Both players.
One of those difficult things in long games like this is trying to figure out what to call which base when they keep losing them.
Both players still staying around the same food level. 65 for Mercy, 91 for Bonkers. It's just been a pretty stagnant game here as players keep positioning with each other to get an advantage, and so far Bonkers has been able to keep it. Been holding on to a slim advantage now for a while. I think part of the problem for Mercy is he keeps building stalkers. It just is an unwise unit composition at this point, unless you're going to be doing something specific like some Blinkins or something. He'd be better advantaged of himself to be using a Warp Prism to get Zealots in, making those High Templar, even making Colossus. At this point, there's a low Void Ray count for Bonkers. Warp Prism moving around a bit for Bonkers still. Mercy deciding to stick a Stalker in that spot where the Warp Prism has come back to 4 or 5 times now and done a lot of damage to his probes. Bonkers now setting up his third, now fourth base. Again, moving probes to it before it's actually quite finished. Sending a Zealot out to the middle to poke as he sees the Stalkers on the tower, keeping watch. Bonkers does still have a Zealot at Mercy's fourth base. Mercy hasn't made an attempt there yet.
Bonkers is chrono boosting out his attack, or his ground upgrade to level 3, while Mercy also has the third upgrade in that regard. Bonkers also choosing to get charge for his Zealots. Mercy's now working on a ground armor upgrade, chrono boosting that out.
Mercy also does have a pylon now in the back of Bonkers' area, we'll call it, for any warp-ins. Mercy attempting to set up a fourth as well.
Going in with a few Stalkers, realizing that's a futile attempt, blinks out, tries to run away. In the meantime, the Observer going over the base of Bonkers, trying to figure out what he's doing, what he's planning, what's happening next.
So if we look at upgrades, both players are pretty equal. Still 2-1 for Bonkers and 3 attack for Mercy.
Mercy does warp in a Dark Templar, trying to move in and do a little bit of damage. He's going to have a bad day as soon as he realizes that he's about to walk into... Oh no, I'm sorry, he went for the fourth base where there is no Observer, and so he's going to get a few probe kills that way before the army moves forward with the Observers.
Definitely a good idea to be poking at that base, because it's going to force him to build some cannons there. If you look at the resources, both players are keeping their money really low. And Bonkers has a bit of a gas bank, which would be good for building some High Templar, but both players under 500 now, especially since Bonkers just spent all of his gas.
Well, Bonkers has 6 High Templar, and most of them have max energy.
It's time to hallucinate some Colossus, huh? Stalkers for Bonkers moving out to take on the Stalkers of Mercy. Looks like Bonkers is going to get the advantage and get Mercy on the run with those Stalkers. Could have chased them down if he wanted to and been able to get out with Blink, but he decided not to. Mercy hanging his DT back here to watch the gas geyser. Oh, now Mercy sandwiching Bonkers in there, but Bonkers does blink out.
Moving in with the remainder of his army, though. Blinks forward to meet up with the Archons and the Zealots. Regroups behind that massive what is that, a factory-looking thing? I don't know what that is.
Massive factory-looking thing.
An industrial building of sorts.
Probe kills are 67 to 48.
Storms huge all over the place on both players. Oh. Mercy deciding that Nexus is not worth saving, pulls his probes, keeps his army back.
Bonkers continue to get more and more in the lead. If you look at the army compositions, it's Archon, Zealot, couple Void Rays, couple Stalkers. But then if you look at Bonkers, it's Zealot, Stalker mainly, which is just a bad composition against these Archons. It's just going to get torn up.
Bonkers also has a greater army supply by about 25 food.
Bonkers now going for shield upgrade as he's got so many Archons that will be advantageous for him. Pulling back again. Definitely has a superior army, and I think he knows it, especially since he took out that fourth base of Mercy. Just going to sit back and see what's going to happen now from Mercy. He did set up a fifth base here right by that pylon. He does see the Zealot warp in and pulls back as Mercy starts to make an advance on the fourth base of Bonkers.
And he's going to be able to get in there and do some damage as Bonkers' army is having to ping-pong around the map a little bit, trying to defend his bases.
Like
Unfortunately, Mercy wasn't able to get a lot of great damage in. He was only able to take out some pylons and some cannons, and Storm's going down, picking away at some of those Zealots. Mercy's made to fall back. Bonkers gives pursuit.
Storm whiffed a little bit there, but it's not a big deal as he's still pushing forward. Still got a very strong army. The Zealots tanking up the front a lot for those Archons. The Storm's coming down and wreaking havoc on the shields of those Stalkers. Void Rays coming in as well, and that prismatic alignment works really well against Stalkers, although he appears to be on cooldown. Blinking in for the GG.
Mercy GG's.
Epic game. That's going to make the win for StarCraft 2 strategy, taking the win 5-2. But man, what a series.
Indeed. They really put up a great fight. There was a lot of really hard-fought games in there. You really can't... you really have to give Overdose Gaming a lot of credit. They had some really great players playing some really hard-to-play games and really put up a great showing in that match.